Assalamu alaikum, guys. I just wanted to record this little intro to the podcast because a couple things. First, the camera, for some reason, my camera was glitching like crazy. I don't know why. So audio's good. I fixed that up in post, but my camera was glitching on and off like blue or something. I have no idea. So just a heads up on that. I'm gonna keep it because I like to keep things the way it is, and I want to keep a video podcast going. So that's number one. Number two, big shout out to @Samit. I believe the name of Samit was in the comments. You're the one that called out that Simpsons reference, and I want to make sure you get your shout out. So big shout out to Samit. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you looking up that reference. And that's all I got to say in this one, guys. Make sure you guys support Islam by Touch, support our work, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. What I was gonna say, literally, I was about to start talking. You just messed it all up, you jerk. You took 87 years.
1, 2, 3. I'm gonna wait 5 whole solid minutes of silence.
And then stop. All right, on that note, assalamu alaikum and welcome to Behind the Blind. This is Nadir.
Why did you take so long? And this is Yadira.
Hi, I was trying to get everything ready to go.
Maybe you counted too early.
But yeah, sure. Sure.
All
So,
right.
Wife.
Yep, husband.
What up, dude? I was trying to set this up, right? Because we're on the kind of a time
crunch
constraint.
here.
Yeah. We got a meeting after this. And
right.
I didn't record an episode yesterday. I wasn't in the mood. I was, I go through depressive episodes in all legitimacy and all honesty.
Honesty. Wow.
In all honesty.
I love it. How do you spell honesty?
So, I don't know. Put an M in the middle of honesty and I think you're good. But I go through like depressive episodes, so I really was not in a good place yesterday. But alhamdulillah, feeling better today.
Great day. My baby's 13.
Yes, today Abdullah is 13. We're totally dating this because this is going to come out on Sunday.
Yeah.
And today's Monday.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be...
It's not. By the time you guys hear this, it's not going to be his birthday.
Yeah, it's not going to be. But
the day we're recording this
is, it's January 2nd.
My oldest.
Second day of the new Gregorian year.
Anyway,
that's the proper term, right? Gregorian?
Yeah. Anyway, so all my kids are getting big and
we're getting old.
I don't care about that part. It's crazy to see my babies grow up. Anyway, so
that's good.
We started a Stand by Touch. We were homeless for a bit. Right,
so we're talking. What a recap!
And,
great recap, wife.
My kids got mono.
Excellent recap. That's right. They all got mono.
All three of them. I don't know if I mentioned that.
No, I think we did.
But in any case,
and then you got laryngitis and strep throat and all that stuff.
That was great times.
And I was sleeping on the couch.
Right.
And all right, so this is where we left off. So
I think we left off trying to find a new place to live.
Yeah, so we're looking
going to
for...
talk about the struggles that we were dealing with when it comes to getting a place as somebody who's blind. I don't think people who aren't disabled understand. It's hard enough getting an apartment when
you can see.
Yeah. Finances or whether you have a pet or not or whatever. Now throw in blindness and guide dog, and it's
a whole nother a whole lot of extra stuff that gets thrown on top of everything else. So we started looking for apartments. At first we started looking for them by ourselves, right? You remember this?
Mm-hmm. That's why I was giving all that background story.
I was just going on Craigslist, trying to find places to rent. Just normal stuff.
Lots of scams.
So many scams.
I mean,
so many people.
We never got caught up in any of them, but you could see it. It's like, wow, really? That's a scam. That's a scam. Like,
so many people are like, yeah, just send us the money, and then we'll send you the key in the mail.
How stupid do you think we are? Next,
we'll send you the key in the mail. Or, I wanted to just talk to you about this. And it would just be a runaround. It was such a pain.
At one point, they were like, send us a copy of your ID.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, no, we won't.
Send us a copy so we can verify you're who you are.
Right.
Why don't you verify who you are?
No,
people suck. Anyway, so many scams. And then, but some weren't scams. So we went to a couple of, I think we went to like 1 or 2 apartments. We actually went to one that was like right around the corner from my parents' house. It was walking distance.
Oh, that was hot. I just made a face on the camera.
What, you drank too much coffee?
I drank it too fast and it's like steaming. It burnt my mouth.
The best coffee.
Nice anyway,
I put my coffee over there to the side because I knocked it down and I still got a mess I got to clean up.
So the house that was around the corner, like not far from your parents' house. It was
a few
family
blocks
house.
away, I think. Yeah.
It was a one family home. It was small, but it was a one family home, which is kind of what I was looking for because I had at the time 3 kids. I hadn't had the youngest yet. So at the time, 3 very young kids, and I didn't want to have.
We didn't want to have an apartment
because I don't know how it's apparently not a thing all over the U.S. or whatever. Because in Texas, the 2 family homes that you see in New Jersey and in like I think New York and stuff, they're not over here. So you'll have 2 apartments.
Side by side
over here, but in New Jersey,
on top of each
it's
other.
One on top of each other.
Yeah. 2-family house, multi-family house, it's usually levels on top of each other. Whereas if they had like a duplex, that'd be more of like a townhouse kind of situation.
So
they do have them though.
They do have them.
They do have them. I remember, my man, one of my friends. I don't want to give names because Dita always calls me out on giving names.
Anyways, you don't need to say. You had a friend and they had
one of my friends, still my friend. Good friend. He used to live in a duplex. He used to live in a duplex in New Jersey.
Okay.
So
they have them. I know they do.
Yeah.
But and in any case, we were looking for, but that didn't pan out.
We could not find any one family house.
Because what ended up happening in this particular home, I'm going to focus on this home.
Yep. This is a very good case study here.
I cannot say that this happens to every blind person. But this is my experience. So we show up to this house and we tour the house. It was small and a bit cramped, but I was fine with it because, again, one family, 3 small kids. At the time, baby number 3, which was the youngest at the time, was
a year and change.
A year and change. So
a year and a couple months.
Yeah. So, and then the other one was 3 and the other one was so small kids, something like that, 5 or 6. My kids are not far apart in age. So they were little. So I was like, it's a little small, but we'll make it work. The lady really liked us. Everything was fine on paper. The credentials, we had everything. There was no reason why we wouldn't have been able to rent the homes. It even had a backyard that was fenced in. And so we get to the backyard and she was like, oh my gosh, you guys would make the perfect tenants. But I'm too afraid you're going to burn my house down if you even try to cook because you're blind. And that's too much of a liability. So that is... straight to my face, and that's just I was supposed to be okay with that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So we couldn't rent the place because you're blind. You might burn my house down because you clearly can't manage anything on your own. And the thought of you cooking, well, that's obviously something you can't do.
Yeah.
So, never mind the fact that I'm raising 3 kids and I'm married and, starting a business at that point with my husband and I'm, running a home just like any other woman or whatever would do, like any other wife, any other wife and mother. I got this. No, you're blind, so you can't do any of it. So
you're obviously going to set the house on fire.
You're obviously, no doubt,
there's no doubt in my mind you will set the house on fire.
So at that point, I stopped. I on top of everything else, you have to also remember we're looking for an apartment because my daughter has lead poisoning and we don't have a home. We're literally staying with my in-laws. At that point, I just couldn't take it anymore. And I told Nadir, you need to find a place. And I don't want to see anything until we have kind of almost a certainty that we're going to get it. Like, I can't do that. I can't go through all that. I was too exhausted. And I know there's discrimination stuff and housing stuff and all the stuff you could probably smooth with stuff. But in the situation we were in, it was dire. Like we needed to hurry and get out of a place.
Yep. Like I was trying to sue my last job.
Right.
I was trying to sue them, but with everything that was happening,
just couldn't do it.
And then by the time we knew what to do, it
was done.
By the time we knew we were still within, we could have sued them and all that, and the statute of limitation ran out. We couldn't do it anymore. So it's kind of like you get screwed at every corner.
Because everything was on top of everything.
Exactly. Don't mind my voice, by the way. I know my voice is different.
Well, that's just...
So we just came back from the big mass ICNA convention in Chicago, which was all right. It wasn't great, but it was all right. Alhamdulillah. And my voice is recovering. So... Don't mind that. Maybe we'll do a podcast about that after we cover Islam by touch. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. Anyway,
I just heard myself. That's why
I stopped going to places. I stopped
straight
seeing.
Up ignored me.
I did because we're not like I'm not trying to be rude, but we do have a meeting.
Yeah, I know, but
shortly after. Anyway,
it's just banter, bro.
So We'll banter
just
later.
banter.
So,
anyway, yeah. You're like rushing through the episode. The episode ain't gonna be 15 minutes. Like, all right, guys, see you in the next one. and then super fast, just like whenever I listen to my podcast, it's like on 2x speed.
Yeah. Anyway, can I finish my story?
No.
So I stopped going.
Anyway, go ahead.
I stopped going. And I don't know if you saw a couple more places, but we got to the point where we were like...
We did deal with a lot of that, though.
Yeah.
We heard a lot of that.
That's why. But I highlighted that one because it was that was the last one.
Yeah.
It had already been happening for a while.
That has happened a few times already by the time we got there. It's just that was the most overtly one. Yeah. That was the most overt
one. She was just outright.
We would have questions asked, and then we wouldn't be approved for the apartment.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they would ask us questions about guide dogs. They would ask us questions about
blindness, about all this
blindness, about how are you going to do this? How are you going to do that?
And who's going to come help?
Who's going to come help?
And so, by the way, that question, even if well-intentioned, for the love of God, never ask it.
Yeah,
I'm going to be real honest. Who helps you out? It is rude, demeaning, degrading.
I think we
that
could
is
definitely
not
have
okay.
one whole episode of the questions you should not ask and the things you should not say to blind people.
Yeah.
And then disabled people in extension.
Yeah.
And I think that was Hayes Waves.
That was hazing
shaking
in the background.
She's in the room. We tried to kick her out. She didn't want to.
No, because I'm here, and she's like, yeah.
She was like, I want to be on the podcast.
So
I want to be on.
She shook in the background. But yeah, that is. I'm open to questions, but that is a rude question. Just because your question is coming from a place of your assumption rather than from an open mind wanting to learn. You're assuming I can't do anything.
Can't do anything.
So you've decided that the good question is, well, who helps you? That's not okay. Anyway, so that's my rant.
Good rant.
So, what was I going to say? Okay, so at that, we sat down, we were talking, we were all upset, and we decided, you know what, it's going to cost us, but we're going to have to hire a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And
so we find a real estate agent. She's really nice. I can't remember her name.
I can't remember her name either.
Karen. Let's call her Karen.
I think it might have been Jackie.
All right,
or something like that.
So Karen Jackie, so she started looking for places, and she found a list of places around the Clifton area. That's pretty much where. So
up North Jersey, looking. And so eventually, alhamdulillah, through the help of this real estate agent, we finally put in 2 applications for 2 places. So whichever one was a 1-family home and one was a 2-family home, but we were going to be renting the bottom floor, which would have given us full and private access to the finished basement and the backyard.
Because the basement was important because that's where all of the Islam by Touch stuff was going to be going down.
And then the kids' playroom was there, and so it was like having 2 floors. Yes. And it was completely finished, and it was a bathroom down there as well. So there was like 2 bathrooms in the apartment.
So it was,
and there was a small yard. And although it was small, it was still fenced in. It was
still a fenced-in private yard.
Yeah. Right? So if I couldn't get a 1 family, this was kind of the next best thing. So we applied for these 2 apartments, and subhanAllah, the reason I also mentioned that lady with the house that denied us because she straight up said I was going to burn her apartment down. We had put in the applications, and we're waiting for a response. One of them never responded because I don't know, because we got approved.
Yeah.
For the 2 family.
Yeah, we didn't even look at the other one because we got approved and we're like, khalas.
We got approved, so we pulled our application.
Because we really felt desperate.
Yeah.
Right? Whenever you feel desperate, I'm sure everyone can relate to this. Whenever you feel desperate and then somebody throws you a bone, so to speak, you're like, please give me that bone.
I'll take it.
Pause.
So, wow. That's why I don't like you speaking. You just sit there, look pretty. We're done with you.
What? You can't take me serious?
I'm over it. We're done. Go away.
This is the last episode of Behind This Block. Tina doesn't want to deal with me anymore.
Anyway.
All right, let's go. Come on, yo.
So,
God, I'm crying.
SubhanAllah.
Oh, I've been crying every episode.
We pulled the application. We pulled the application for the 1-family home.
Because we got approved.
Alhamdulillah. SubhanAllah, we get approved. And that woman calls, I think that same day or the next day. She's like, so I can't seem to find anyone to fill the apartment, and I really need it rented by the 1st. It's yours. You want it? You come in. You can just move in. We were like, no, we don't want your house. No, thank you. We already found a place. She was like, "Are you sure?" And she's like trying to give all these incentives.
That's right. I remember that.
And
I forgot about that.
I remember this because you were sitting on that couch and you said, "No, we found the place." Then now you don't have to worry about my wife setting your house on fire. So it's a win-win. And you hung up on her.
Come on now.
Yeah.
And get out of here with that.
Yep. So that's why I also specifically chose to mention that house, because she called after we had gotten approved, saying that she needed us to come rent that apartment because she couldn't find tenants to fill, and it was vacated.
Thanks for making me sound so awesome.
Yeah.
You made me sound like my name is Max Power. With the name that you cannot touch and you mustn't touch. It sounds good in your ear. Okay, I don't know what the rest of
the song is. Okay. But yeah, and you hung up on her. I remember you were sitting. I remember exactly where you were sitting, and like you were right diagonally across from me. Anyway, so
I remember thank you for. I totally forgot.
I know. That's why
I tend to just forget details like that.
Yeah, you do.
I don't know why. Is that like a defense mechanism?
I have no idea, but you do forget a lot. And then I say stuff, and you're like,
but then I have a really good memory. A lot of people say, like, "Oh, you have a great memory."
That's because they don't know you like I do. No.
Okay. Thanks. Appreciate that. All right. So
okay. Anyway, but yeah. So she called us after we had gotten approved.
Yes.
And you hung up with her, and then I remember the next day or two, something like that. You went in. I didn't go with you. I stood home. You went in, filled out the paperwork, signed the lease with the real estate agent. She went with you.
I didn't bring you until I got the keys.
You didn't take until you came back home.
So you can imagine the pressure. Right? The pressure I was under because I want to make sure I'm getting a good place that she's going to like. Because I can just pick a place and she's like, nope, I don't like this place.
You took me, I saw it once after we got the application like approved or something like that, or shortly before.
Yeah.
But I saw the place once.
I took you to see it because I was making sure, like I almost guaranteed we had it.
Yeah.
And the guy was cool. The guy was like an Irani guy.
Yeah.
He was
but
a cool guy.
It was almost
the property
guaranteed.
Manager was an Irani guy.
And you had negotiated with him to have full access to the backyard alone.
We paid a little extra for that.
Yeah. No matter who else rented upstairs, he was like that. The yard is for you guys.
Yep.
So you brought me in when it was almost guaranteed. And then you went in, signed the lease, and then came back home to your parents' house, and then handed me the key. And that was an incredible weekend. And then
and I remember I think that was like around the Eid or right before the Eid.
I can't remember.
Because I remember going for Salat al-Eid and just crying. I was crying so hard out of gratitude.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
I think it was a little bit before.
I think it was like the day before. Like, seriously.
Like, seriously. I don't think it was exactly a day. It might have been like a week. It was just a few days before.
No, because I remember going for Laylatul Qadr.
Yeah.
And making dua.
But I remember not spending, like, we didn't have an Eid at your parents' house.
Yeah, we did. We had that Eid al-Fitr there.
Yes. No. But I mean, like, Eid al-Adha.
No. I'm talking about Eid al-Fitr because that happened the beginning of July. And we moved in like 2 days later.
Yeah.
We started moving in.
I think it was like a 4th of July weekend or something
like that. Yeah, exactly. I remember because incidents happened not involving us.
Yeah.
But, good friend came and helped.
Right.
He went through a lot.
So, in any case...
May Allah guide him and make things easy for him.
But in any case, we moved out. We finally got our place. And we were finally able to really start kind of pouring ourselves into
Islam by
touch.
Yeah.
Because, we weren't homeless no more. Every time I say that to your parents, like, no, you had a home. Like, no, I appreciate you opened up your home to us. But it's not the same as having your own place.
Exactly. Having your own place and staying in someone else's place are two completely different things.
It's just not the same. And so
especially whenever you have to just get up and leave and vacate immediately.
Yeah.
Right? Like, talk about a shock to the system, subhanAllah. Like, that was really, really, really rough. And then, subhanAllah, right after we got into the place, I got approved for my unemployment.
Yeah.
That was a big help.
Yep.
And then I think right around the same time, I got approved for disability.
A little bit after the unemployment.
Yep. So, I was approved for disability, but usually takes 6 months before you could get it.
Yeah.
So, alhamdulillah, everything was starting to fall into place. And then we, as mentioned in the last episode, we did a fundraiser through LaunchGood, and we were able to get enough money so that we can actually start buying materials, right? And the things we need to actually get started. So, needed a specific computer. I needed a computer. I did not have a laptop or a computer. So I got a computer.
Computer software. The
software
the lowest
called
end.
Hold on. The software called Duxbury, which is a braille translation software, which alone I believe cost $500.
It's like 5 or 6, something like that.
Okay, just the braille translation.
Then the
software.
laptop. Then the
laptop. Then
one
we
of the
had to
lower
get
end.
The lower. It's like a mid to lower range braille embosser.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me explain to you guys what a braille embosser is if you don't know. So a braille embosser is a printer, a unit that prints out the braille. Okay, and they call it an embosser because it's physically embossing the paper with the dots. Right, there's little hammers on the inside of it that
Like
make
little
the
pins
dots,
and
the
hammers,
imprints
and
of the dots. So we had to stay within budget. We could not go extravagant and buy a production embosser. So we had to get something that's more of a tabletop. So just I want you to think of this. Think of going to Staples and buying like the most expensive printer they have, which is $400 or $500. Okay. That's the most high end one you could get at the store. So this one would be maybe a level below that. And this printer cost $5,000-$6,000, right? This embosser. So we got all of the gear so we could actually start and I had to learn how to use all of this. I've never used any of this.
By the way, there was no one there helping him learn any of this stuff. This is all self-taught.
Yeah. I pretty much taught myself how to do all this stuff, right? So then I'm trying to reach out to different organizations to try to get access to the English translation of the Quran that we wanted to use, which is Sahih International. We decided to use that one because of its simplicity.
But it's eloquence. Because it's not overly simple, but it's also not overly academic.
And then also because of how scholarly recommended it was.
Yeah.
If it was not scholarly recommended, we would not have used it.
But anyway, continue.
So I'm trying to reach out to the people who put it together because I didn't know, right? And one thing I learned in this research was that.
Well, that was me who brought you to that attention, the copyright laws. I did a lot of research on copyright laws, and I kind of already had a feel for it because I'm a Braille reader, and I have had access, obviously, to accessible books my whole life. So I kind of knew what they were, but I've done a lot of research over it, and even recently, like with Marrakesh Treaty, that's very recent. That's, I think, 2019, 2018, something like that. So, which is expanding on these laws. I'm not going to get into all that because it gets pretty boring. But anyway.
You're already boring me, wife.
Okay, I'll give you a statistic that's sad and should make people want to, donate and help the blind community, right?
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
There's a book famine in terms of accessible books. So if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like less than 5% of the world's books are made accessible.
In some sort of accessible format for blind people?
For blind and print disabled.
Print disabled people? Allahu Akbar. Less than 5%?
Yep. Of the world, of all the books in the world.
Wow.
So that's why it's considered a book famine. So when we say, please donate to Islam by Touch because it truly helps the blind community, it's not an understatement. It's not us we just trying to get people's money, or it's literally because things like the fact that a book famine exists are problematic. When you think about, and this is all the world's books, and I imagine Islamic literature, how little of that is translated or transcribed into an accessible format.
Absolutely.
So there's a problem, huge problem. And I had mentioned the Marrakesh Treaty because that was addressing some of the issues because every country has their own copyright laws. And so in other countries, you might run into an issue where they were like, well, you can't do that here and you can't have our books here. And so now you're dealing with the blind people from that country, but they can access it somewhere else and they may not be, you know what I mean? It was so that what the Marrakesh Treaty was kind of have more countries sign up to this universal sort of expanded
copyright law for specialty format books.
Yep. That's all that.
So what it is that because it's a special format, Braille, large print, audio for print disabled readers, things like that, right? Because it's a special format, there is no copyright. There is no copyright. So meaning that we can reproduce it in Braille.
What you have to do is, so when you see in Braille books, there'll be a print sheet in the front that says, this is what it is. And it has the information of the company that's producing it, that gives the copyright of the book itself, not the Braille format, but the book itself. And then it gives you the year it was transcribed into Braille. It has to have that info so that people know, okay, yeah, this is a specialized format. But really, in the most simplest of terms, that's all you need to do in order to produce specialized formats. Now, there are other things like Bookshare and things like that where, because it's like a worldwide thing, They have to get permissions from publishers. My kids are screaming in the background. They're playing VR, so
I can't even hear them.
I can. So
Okay.
so there's a whole bunch of other issues. But in simplest terms, we were able to explain how you finally decided to get a hold of this, or how you finally got around to getting a hold of a book we can use.
So I bought it off of Amazon.
There we go. That's why I did this big lead up, because I knew you were going to do that. And
So we bought the EPUB off of Amazon. They have this software called Caliber, because the thing is, and this is where you could really get thrown off, and people that try to do this without actually doing research can really mess up. See, I Googled it and I sat there for a couple hours just going through the pages trying to find it. And there was nothing available. Now, there is something labeled as Sahih International English Translation. It wasn't it. It was falsely labeled. It's not the same translation. So literally bought it off of Amazon, the digital version of it. Ran it through a software called Caliber to convert it into a .txt format. And then the editing process began. And that process right there was just the initial editing process, which was to remove things that didn't translate well into Braille. That was the first major step to do through the entire document. So Dita, you want to kind of elaborate on this, how things don't translate well into Braille?
Yeah, there's sometimes certain symbols, certain marks don't translate over well into Braille. So what you end up reading is gibberish instead of actually what it's meaning to say.
So keep in mind, this is around what, August?
Yeah, I would.
August 2016. So we started Islam by Touch in March, but we didn't actually start working on the actual English meanings of the Quran
until about
Braille
5 or 6 months in.
Exactly.
You got to remember, we were trying to not be homeless and things like that. So
Yeah, typical stuff we all go through. Trying not to be homeless,
and feed our kids and do all those things.
Yeah.
So
But God, yeah. So some things just don't translate well into Braille.
Into gibberish, and you can't read it. So he needed to kind of remove all those things, anywhere from braces and brackets to footnotes and things like that. So that was a process in itself.
So you can imagine, right? Like the find feature doesn't find footnotes, right?
So all of this is manual that he's.
So I literally had to manually go through the entire English meanings of the Quran.
So then
remove all the footnotes.
Once everything was prepped,
removing a lot of the things that didn't translate well, removing everything that didn't translate well, replacing it. So brackets were replaced with parentheses because it served the same purpose to separate that out. Then we had to separate. Then we started talking about how many volumes do we want this to be.
It's a whole thing, because you had to figure out how many volumes. What should it? Even something down to the most minute detail of how should the label in the front on the cover be placed. And so all of these things went into it, and we finally decided on the version we have, which is the 10 volumes, 3 juz in it, with the label going down. Like if you have it laying in front of you, it's following the spine.
Yeah, so just imagine the book is standing up in a bookshelf. Normally, people can just read the spine of the book to see what it is, but blind people can reach in and feel what it is because it's right side up when it's standing up.
Yeah, it goes down from top to bottom, and you read it going down.
So you can read it like that.
So
so it took
even
us
after that, and then okay, we finally decided on all those things. Okay, you print.
So now I started with volume 10. I was like, all right, let's start with volume 10. This is probably going to be this is the shorter surahs of the Quran. So let's start there.
So
last 3 juz.
That was brailled and handed over to me to.
And it wasn't just brailled. Now, keep in mind, whenever we separated it, we created a table of contents. We went through formatting in regards to spacing out everything properly. So, for example, I went through the entire English meanings of the Quran, and spaced it out line by line so that every new verse starts on a new line.
And is numbered.
And it's numbered, right?
So you know what's what.
So you know exactly where you're at.
All of that, it finally got brailled, handed over to me for proofreading. I read the English translation of the Quran for the first time after we had completed our project, but I read it backwards. I read it from
30 down to 1.
To 1, yeah. I didn't read it in a chronological order. I read it backwards. Like volume 10 passes over to me. There's mistakes. That whole volume gets scrapped. You have to go back and fix whatever mistakes, even if it's one. The whole thing is done. Redo it. Proofread. Yep. I think I proofread volume 10 about 4 times.
Yep, because we had to. It was figuring out. Well, okay, this
That's
keeps
not
happening.
working.
Why
That's
is this
not
happening?
working.
Yeah.
You're getting a whole page here that's total gibberish. Why is that happening? This is, you know what I mean? Your pages are misnumbered. You know, it could be the smallest thing. The braille's too soft. Why did that happen? So there's so many things. I must have proofread volume 10 about 4 or 5 times. And then each volume after that, I don't think I read as many times as I did.
Because you start to figure out your workflow.
Right.
And you start to say,
But-
okay, I got to go back and fix this on all of it.
Right.
Yeah, before I even get
Now,
to the next
I would say
step.
the last 3 volumes, which is volumes 1 through 3, went through without needing a correction.
Mm-hmm.
But the first volumes, the first like 7 through 10, I count those as the first because, you know, those needed corrections. And so at least volume 7, I know I read like twice at least. Mm-hmm. So 6 or 7, something like that. Anyways, you know, whatever it is, 7, 5, all that stuff, it just needs work. And you can't put anything out. Like I said, even the braille's too soft. Now you can't properly read that. And now you're going to run the risk of it being read so many times that it could just completely go away.
Yeah.
And now what are you going to do? So
Yep.
you can't have it be too soft. Well, now you did it too hard and the paper ripped. Like, you know what I mean? There has to be a balance. It's very nuanced. It takes a lot of work. So finally, after all of that, it took about a year. And I think it was finally that following August or something like that. Mm-hmm. We finished it.
No, not that following August. It was March 2017 was ready.
Okay, so then it took us less than a year then.
Yeah. I mean, I usually say from March 2016 because that's when we started Islam by
Yeah.
Touch, you know?
But like
Until-
in reality, my proofreading took about 6 months or so.
yeah,
6,
6
7
months or so, which think about it, that's a lot.
Hold on a minute. So I started this in about August, and then I was fine, and with 3 kids. And by the time I ended this project, I was pregnant with baby number 4.
Yep.
And so it was early on in the pregnancy. By the time we finished that, and we
So-
were finally able to start promoting it as completed.
Yeah, so in the meantime, while we're working on this, I was starting to travel some from, you know, going to masajid, giving khutbah to Jum'ah about blindness and blind people and things like that from our history. And one facet of Islam by Touch was added. One facet was actually added to the list. Now I was doing workshops. I started doing workshops to educate Muslims on how to treat and interact with blind and disabled people with respect and with dignity. This was like really the second initiative that Islam by Touch was doing while we were completing the English meanings of the Quran in Braille.
But that's how we got our start.
And that's why Islam by Touch. That's why we started it. And alhamdulillah, from then until now, you know, we have worked on other books in Braille, like The Fortress of the Muslim and the 40 Hadith of Imam al-Nawawi. We've
did
done those both in English Braille.
primer.
We've done an Arabic Braille primer to help blind Muslims who don't know how to read Quranic Braille learn it so that they can read the actual Mus'haf.
If they would,
and that goes in conjunction with like lessons that are offered by the International Union of Braille Quran Services, which I'm actually a board member of as well.
He's a liar. He's the vice president.
Okay. Deputy vice president. I'm like the second vice
He's
president.
the deputy vice
I'm
president.
a board member. I didn't lie.
Okay,
That's the
but
truth.
You're like just a board member.
That's the truth.
He always minimizes himself.
And then
See, he's trying to gloss over it.
what else? What else? We give dawah to the blind community. We actually go, if you go to the Islam by Touch YouTube channel, we actually have videos of me and other brothers that joined us giving dawah to the blind community at blind conventions. So
But
you guys
that's
can
what
actually check that
that's
out.
what we do. That's how we got started anyway. Cause
Yeah. All the work that we do, it's all circled around blind and Muslim and making Islam accessible for the blind community.
Yeah.
That's really all we do.
where are we on time?
So we're about to wrap it up.
Oh, okay, good. So we made it. Yay.
We're at 35 minutes right now, right? With all the nonsense in the beginning, because you just start laughing while I'm saying
I mean,
everything
you
else.
took so long.
Bro, just it's whatever.
If you wouldn't have counted it, then it would have been fine. But you're like 1, 2, 3. I'm just gonna sit here silently for an extended period of time and just let that silence linger.
Just let that silence linger and stare you in the face.
Right, so I had to laugh because it was just
Stare at you in the face. Anyway. Well, yeah, but that's pretty much why we do Islam by Touch.
That's-
And the thing is really quick. You know, we started expanding it, like really wanting to go further because we started hearing from other people that this is requested and this is needed.
So real quick,
Yeah.
we finished the whole project, the first project we did in March. Mm-hmm. And then we realized that because this machine that we had, I think we had 2 of them, took about 8 hours to produce one full set.
We had 1 at that time. We only had 1.
Oh, okay.
We didn't get 2 until we moved.
So we realized that we need to grow, and growing in New Jersey isn't it. There's a baby on the way. There's 3 children.
And we weren't making a lot of money.
No, we're still not.
We're still not making
We're still not making a lot of money. Alhamdulillah.
We were making less money.
Right.
Or at least we were making the same thing, but you can't really survive. Like, we didn't start taking a salary from Islam by Touch until what, 2018?
Yeah.
Like end of 2018?
Yeah, almost 2019.
Yeah. So it's not like we were taking a salary.
It got to a point where if we were going to continue with Islam by Touch, we were going to have to move, or we were going to have to stop, because you can't live on a nonprofit like that.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to homeschool the kids, keep doing that. I didn't want to stop that. That was extremely important to me. And I think to you as well.
Yeah.
And so there were some things that we really had to sit down and think about. And then in the meantime, our neighbors moved, the ones who were living above us. And then we got new neighbors, which weren't so fabulous.
No.
And
which weren't so fabulous. Yes, it's a great way of putting it.
So at this point, we've reached around July or so. So, and I had the baby in September. So I'm like hugely pregnant.
Yeah.
And we were like, you know what? We're going to have to leave. And I think before... that's when we really made the decision. But I think we really started talking about it back in January, because you came to visit Texas. Mm-hmm. And you did I
was here with Yusuf Estes.
Yeah, and you did a tour with him, helping him out and things like that.
I came with Abu Sumaya.
Yeah.
Not Abu Sumaya, Abu Hafsa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you came here, and we were already discussing, well, where could we move? If we were to really do this, where could we move? And where could we afford to move? And most importantly, what would homeschooling laws look like? Would they be the same as in New Jersey? Because that was really important. I wanted to have the same laws, because they're very relaxed here. Just kind of preliminary and out of interest, like, hey, what would it look like if we did this? And we started doing research and stuff. And then the curiosity turned into more like, wait, this is something we might be able to do. And then it turned into, this is something we might have to do. And then it turned into,
this is something that we're doing.
We're doing this.
So we moved down here.
Well, no, because this was like July. And
we're cutting it close, wife.
Okay, but I'm almost done, because this is how we ended up here where we're at.
Okay, yeah, go.
So this is July. We talked about it. We're like, that's it. We're moving. August.
I don't want the alarm to go off that I set.
That's fine. You can always edit. So look.
I'm going to keep it just for you.
Anyway. So August, Nadir goes out and gets gets a house. We finally actually rented a house here,
which I was paying less than renting the apartment in New Jersey.
Yep. So he rents the house, comes back. I have the baby in September. He's doing a ton of traveling. I have a 6-week-old baby. 3 small kids. One is still in diapers along with the baby. I pack up the whole apartment, subhanAllah. Nadir was barely home because he was doing that was heavy traveling.
Trying to promote Islam by Touch, trying to bring in funds. So
and expand it. And subhanAllah, December comes, we move out, we fly out to Texas, and that's how we ended up here.
And that's how we ended up here. And that's where we're going to leave it.
Yep.
So make sure you guys subscribe to everything, the podcast, go to the YouTube channel. Everything is at Islam by Touch. And of course, the show is called Behind the Blind. Dita, how can people follow you?
At Always Yadira.
Because she is always Yadira.
Okay.
And
okay. Give your slams.
You can. All right, guys. We're going to see you guys in the next time. Okay, on the next time.
In the next time?
In the next time. In the next time, we're going to see you. All right, guys. We will see you on the next one. Next time, when we have an episode of Behind the Blind, we're going to take you there, behind the blind. Okay. All right, guys. No, seriously. Join us. Make sure you guys join us next time when we take you behind the blind. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dum 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 dum.